down. Good morning, everybody. It's time for. Wait. We're not in yet. We're just doing intros, and then we're going to get the boys in. We're here for some bounty brunch. Let's get the boys in now since Bobby is ready to go. I got to hit one of these new scenes. Let's go ahead and go with this one and see what happens.
Bibbidi boppity.
Computer. Whoa, we lost some frames.
Give it a slap.
Should I sit behind? Should I sit behind the desk the whole time today?
No, whoa. Is it? No, because it looks like.
Yes. Oh, it's so good.
It looks like you're sitting at a little kid's desk.
Those little Crayola chairs.
Yes.
I like it.
Good.
I like it.
Good. Yes. All right, no, let's not do that. Let's go to this one. Peter, chug away from
Oh, dude, I like that. That's a cool setup.
I do. I like
The
it.
transition's pretty
That's the wrong one. Sorry. There we go.
Oh, Ryan.
Hey.
Your face is inside Eric.
Hey.
There we go.
Oh, is
I
that?
like it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now we're live, boys. Now we're professional.
Hey, that looks good.
Hey, look, we got a new follower out of Bankman.
We did.
That's nice.
Thank you, Doctor.
He's an okay guy occasionally. And by occasionally, I mean once.
I feel
I refuse to even give him that.
Venkman and I are going to be great friends.
You're a nice person. There's no way you'll be
Nope.
friends with him.
Nope. I feel
Did
his
not-
I feel his level of troll is on mine, and we are going to be.
I don't know, man. I feel like he's the one that gets trolled.
I don't know.
He's Donnie from The Big Lebowski. Let's just be honest.
Oh, I've never seen that, so I can't relate.
Okay, podcast
Well,
over. Bye. We have new
Yeah,
homework.
it's been a lot of fun.
Let's bring
Jeez.
Let's bring up
Guys,
Brad
let's please not discuss the number of movies Caleb hasn't watched.
because that's
I'll do it for you. I haven't seen Ghostbusters, haven't seen Caddyshack, haven't seen Roadhouse, haven't seen Animal House, haven't seen
Roadhouse.
I haven't seen Daddy. What is it called? Big Daddy. I haven't seen Little Nicky. I haven't seen
Okay, hold on.
Madison.
Whoa.
Billy-
How did we go from Ghostbusters to
you've
Little
gone-
Nicky?
Yeah, you've
That's a
gone
spectrum.
so far
No,
off the
no.
rails that
I haven't seen any Adam Sandler movies either.
You're not
Like
missing out.
Okay, that's fair. I can forgive that.
because
I haven't seen any Austin. Okay. I haven't seen any Austin Powers.
That's fine.
Fine too.
Yeah. The first one's really the one that kills people is I haven't seen Ghostbusters.
But
I
no,
say
no,
that.
no.
What is wrong with you?
I'll give you Ghostbusters because of the age thing, right? The age thing.
right.
That's fine.
Jumping
I'll give you
right in.
Ghostbusters.
Fuck.
I'm not gonna get. And I'll give you every Adam Sandler movie after Happy Madison or Happy Madison. after Happy
Got him.
Gilmore.
Happy Madison.
Happy Madison Productions.
It's really
you're
funny.
Not wrong. Because Adam Sandler, after Happy Gilmore, just started his slow, gradual decline into nothingness. It is
He
kind
just
of
gave
early,
up.
Skiwee. Thank you. We're doing
Gave up.
Bounty Brunch this week, though, boys. Bounty Brunch.
Hey, welcome back to Texas.
Thank you. It was a long and arduous week outside of my power source. I felt 100% drained when I landed last night, and as my power returns to me, being back in the mothership, I'm feeling good today. So appreciate that.
Nice.
Well, welcome to Bounty Board. Welcome to Bounty Brunch, everybody. It's a morning episode again. Last time we did this was Christmas, right before Christmas, and it was a lot of fun. And this week we just had a lot of stuff going on, so we pushed the show a little bit. But man, how's everybody doing this morning? How's the sunlight treating your eyelids?
That's
I
great.
haven't looked outside yet.
Are you guys morning people? I don't think you are. I don't think any of you are.
I am because I have to for work.
Yeah, that doesn't mean
I'm
you're morning.
I'm up
Like,
at
I'm
6
saying on a day that you don't have to work, are you waking up early?
No, we are. I'll just jump in here first.
2 p.m.
We are so much not morning people that even our kids, 8 and 4, don't get up before noon on a Saturday.
See, that's how it should be. You're raising your kids right. My parents made me get up at 8 a.m.
So did
every
mine.
Saturday.
My
And
parents
like
also made me do that.
I go to my friend's house like on Friday night and they'd make me be home at like 7 a.m. We got stuff to do outside. Excuse me? I didn't go to bed till 4. I'm not doing this.
That's
Man,
how
yeah.
the Menendez brothers are formed. Shit like that.
It's pronounced Menendez.
I definitely had to do something similar. My brother and I did all kinds of chores and work on the weekends. But nowadays, I am very much a morning person. It's actually my favorite time to play games is like around 6:30, 7 a.m.
Bobby, we might have to be new friends.
I absolutely adore it. It is my time. Like my wife loves to sleep, so she stays in bed till like 9:30, 10 o'clock usually, and so I'll have a couple hours in the morning where I'm playing. It's like I have my coffee. It's just like, some people start off with like a devotion or a crossword puzzle. Like I'm starting with certain games, and there's morning games I think are better than like evening games. I have a whole spiel on it.
Yeah, so I'm
hold on,
the same.
hold on, Caleb.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Jot
Go
this
ahead.
down. I feel a blog post on nerdybits.com by Bobby about evening games,
Soft close in the morning.
soft close.
Hey, soft close in the morning is much different than soft close at night. Let me tell you.
No, but I'm thinking this turns into like a whole like wine pairing, like
Yes.
games in the morning, games in the evening.
Oh my God, Bobby,
the whole I've got a whole series.
Okay.
Sorry, hold on.
Your T-shirt says "soft close sommelier." That's what it's gonna fucking say.
I'll get some coffee mugs made.
Yo, I have. Oh damn, bummer moment. My grandparents used to make mugs. Okay,
Oh.
moving on. I was like, hey, we can. Oh no, we can't. Fuck. Anyway.
So anyway, I'm a morning person. It sounds like you guys aren't. But
So here's the thing. So everybody will notice I didn't ask how everybody's week was, just because I know a few of us had kind of shit weeks. But I was laid off yesterday, so that sucks.
What?
Yeah. So the game studio I was working at was waiting for funding for a while, and the people that were the main investors, which were St. Louis, a big St. Louis name. Fuck it, I don't care. He's an asshole. Rich Chaffetz of Chaffetz Arena is our like number one investor, and he kept like playing hard to get to the point where one of his offers was like, well, only 4 people can work there, but we'll give you money. Nope. Anyway, so they didn't have enough money. Had to cut the contractor budget, and now I do not work there. The reason I bring this up is Bobby was talking about morning people. So I've had a couple of jobs that have made me work in the morning, and I learned to love it. And whenever my jobs were like, you don't have to be at work until 9, I don't try as hard. But if I wake up and have a cup of coffee, mornings are delightful.
Mm-hmm.
I love being up at like 7 and like getting a ton of shit done before noon.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's so wonderful. It's just, I think it stretches the day out. And like the problem is I stay up super late too. So like I function on very little sleep.
Yeah,
so I'm just beating myself up.
Yeah, it's like apparently that's like not good for your brain. I don't know why.
But hey, really quick, I'm sorry that you had to deal with that, man. That's a big fucking bummer.
Yeah, it sucked, but it's okay. I'll be all right. You're gonna see a lot more Nerdy Bits content coming up.
I'm okay with that too.
Yeah. All right. So, it's the morning, guys, and we're doing Bounty Brunch, and we have kind of a lot of news this week. So, I figured we could kind of sprint through some of them, but a few we would have to linger on. And the one that we linger on, I guess we'll start with. On Monday, was it 2 or was it 12?
It was 12 p.m. Pacific,
2 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time,
and 2 p.m. Central Time, and 1 p.m. Mountain Time if you can't do math. Respawn announced a game called Apex Legends, and then at the end of the announcement trailer, released Apex Legends, and we've been playing it all week. What do you guys think of this amazing ass game?
It's terrible. No, I'm just kidding.
Ryan's like, sucks.
I think I finally get what the Battle Royale game is. I think I finally get it.
Oh, was that prompted by us playing last night?
Last night had a lot to do with it, but
Okay.
This is just a game that it feels a lot more approachable, is the word I want to use, than like some of the other ones that I've played. It feels a bit more attainable. Like I understand it. I think there's some really good quality of life stuff in here where it doesn't feel like quite the slog.
Low floor, high ceiling for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I don't think I'll ever be fantastic at this game, but it's one that like I can find enjoyment in, even if I'm getting my ass handed to me. Where like PUBG, like that was just fucking miserable to be in that world and like not be good.
Yeah.
But here, there's enough going on, and like it's just a fun game to play with people. And I think like even going around and like scouting shit out and some of the stuff they've done, this is really fun.
Yeah, for sure. We had a conversation last night, Bobby and I, before we started playing. And Bobby was asking like what the strats are, like how do you play and like what's the best way to play? And I was like, just kind of watch me, I guess, because I play differently than Ryan. Except last night, Ryan and I finally, I think, found a little bit of synergy.
It clicked a little bit.
Because Ryan's generally more aggressive and I'm more strategic. And I don't mean to say that Ryan's not strategic, but
It's all about that push life.
yeah, Ryan's all about the
that push life.
And I was all about the flank life. And last night, Ryan and I actually, after Bobby and I played, figured out how to synergize that, where he would push and distract, and I came around the back, and we did it to like 4 squads in a row and just eliminated them. It was great. Well, and then finished the night on a win. But real quick, I'll finish this. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. But when Bobby asked this, I was like, just watch how I play. I generally try to avoid conflict. In the next game, we were always in the right spot. We were always in zone. And then we got like on the roof of a building that had one way up for the final circle. And we won. It was so great.
Our first game so of the night was a dinner.
It was so good.
Championship.
And like we were getting all the great drops. We were getting everything. It was wonderful.
Yeah, we were armed to the teeth and mostly unopposed. It was very good.
There was so much gas.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So we were on the roof of the market, if you guys know where that is. And there was one zip line up you could take, and like you could mount the wall if you were really good. But that was it. And we had a caustic on our team who just lined all of the entrances to the roof with gas.
Yep.
They climbed up. He popped his super on top of all the gas traps he had. And then I threw my Gibraltar mortar strike. So they couldn't see. They were getting damaged.
I shot my smoke also.
Yeah, they couldn't see. They were getting damaged over time. There was an area of effect bombing happening. It was too good. It was way too good.
Oh.
Eric, you were going to say something.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
was just saying I'm super jealous that I ended up having to get on a flight at 5:30 a.m. on Wednesday, and then I did not get to play. And I got home last night, and I was gonna hop on, and then I was like, if I get on now, I'm not gonna get up for this podcast. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah,
no matter how many alarms after the week I had. No, I was gonna say it's interesting to hear because I think of all of us, I watch almost consistently through the day. I'm watching battle royale streams, and I'm watching high level play. Like I'm watching Viz, who's a former pro gamer from TSM. I'm watching Dr. Disrespect. Love him or hate him, he is a legitimately good player at these games.
Yeah, Shroud, all these. I watch
guys.
A lot of Shroud.
Yeah.
He's great.
I mean, well, Shroud's not human; like he's a robot.
Dude, Sorry, I'm gonna real quick. Watching Shroud walk into a room and loot it without it taking more than 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, the way
it's absurd.
And then when he misses something, the way that he is never stops moving, spins the mouse around, picks it up, and then goes and it just continues on. It's perpetual motion the entire time. There is no sitting still. But I think it's funny that you mentioned, Caleb, your play style and Ryan's play style. I'm glad that finally clicked because I've been waiting for that for some time because it is a legitimate strat.
Yeah.
If you watch Shroud and his teammates, like the two guys Shroud plays with all the time, they will push and then Shroud will sit back with the sniper. So as they pop their heads, Shroud's just dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Ryan was just laying fire down, and I literally walked up to this guy's back pocket and was like, "Hey, motherfucker!"
So yeah, Odin and I got it going because Odin likes playing Mirage so much, and I like playing Bloodhound as my main. And I'll do the Bloodhound scan, which makes everybody scatter anyway because there's an area of effect on that radius. But then Odin will pop the Mirage, and the Mirage clone is so good, and Odin will like duck and. While the Mirage clone is running, and the clone mimics your movements in this one, unlike what it did in Titanfall 2, which is really awesome. So people will legitimately pop up and shoot at it, and then I've tracked them by the time that's happened. It's just I think of all the PRs, like Bobby said, this is, and I don't want to bemoan the topic more.
It's okay. Go for it.
But yeah, I think it's Big Bot you and Bobby were talking about is.
Were you gonna say Big Bobby?
I'll take it.
You and Big Bobby.
Bobby.
I like it. Big Bobby.
But I think of all of them, this does have a super low cost to entry. Not talking about the price point. We'll get into that.
It's free.
Yeah, I'm talking about from a skills
sure.
gap, right?
Sure.
Because of the Overwatch-esque champion play, You've got some abilities that can kind of save your ass in a firefight. A well-timed Wraith dip, a well-timed Gibraltar strike,
A well-timed Bangalore smoke.
Yeah, exactly. Can get you out of that situation and change the or even I don't remember the recon. What's the robot's name?
Pathfinder.
Pathfinder. Yeah, a well-timed Pathfinder zip line can get you out of a situation, or even change the moment-to-moment gameplay that makes it super fun. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, in this game, I feel like the chicken dinners are more like earned. Like I see in PUBG and Fortnite and all those other ones, it's just you just go and you kill somebody. But this time you're fighting people with abilities. You catching people after Gibraltar's used his dome shield. You're catching you're waiting for the end of a battle between two teams to know, like, all right, this is our time to shine. We have all of our abilities. We got to use this. Or if you get ambushed, it's more of what do we got to do at this moment in time with the three different abilities that we have as a team? Like, what do we got to do to make this happen? And it's not just playing the game and winning. It's actually earning your take for that game, because there's been times that it was either with Skiwi or Smurf the other night. There was two teams fighting, and I was playing Wraith, and we was like, oh, we got to get to that building behind them, and we had a couple open areas that I had to run through. I popped my ultimate. I popped my cloak because I found out the other night that you can do both
just
at the
about
same
to
time.
ask that. That's so fucking good.
So I popped my portal, popped my cloak, ran all the way around behind them, finished the portal. They hopped in with me, and we flanked the shit out of them as soon as they won.
That's so good.
Immediately killed everybody in the house. It was a perfect play, but if I didn't have those abilities ready, things weren't going down that way. It was amazing. So somebody, or I think Bobby, or no, it was Celtic that sent that link the other day about the guy that does gas blocking people in rooms.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that on? Yeah.
Yes.
I've been waiting for these fantastic plays to come out, and I've been trying so hard to find them myself. And like that one that I did with Wraith was one of those plays. Like, shit, you can flank super hard, or you can do these specific things. And I think from the weeks to come, we're gonna see some great plays out of this game.
I think that brings them. I mean, that's where we're talking about. Like, and I know we're gonna get into the topic a little bit earlier. I'm looking at the questions, for the week. But I think that's where it brings that MOBA moment-to-moment gameplay, where it change. You get the right, and you've played League of Legends enough, Ryan, to know that you get that one guy who comes in fresh from the, maybe fresh from the Rift, with all his abilities reset, and hops in, and then all of a sudden it's a pentakill.
Right.
It just blows up everywhere. I think that's kind of how this situation is. We had one where I was dropping back in from the ship, and I literally landed because I got killed. Literally landed, picked up a shotgun, and then was able to save the guy, go and flank and get the guy that was shooting Odin, and turn that whole situation around. I think there's going to be, and it's tough to, I think it's going to be really tough to form a meta in this game based on the way the champions' abilities work, because I haven't played one yet where it's like they don't all have, there's going to be synergies between champions, or legends.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like there's any OP people.
No, not at all. I haven't felt
like
weapons, maybe, but not
the
people.
wingman might get nerfed, and if they do, my heart will break a little bit.
Yeah, but I think even then, that wingman is the only one that.
And
Right.
not many people use it. It's kind of hard to use. So, like, if you're good with it, I kind of feel like they should leave that.
If you're a hand cannon player in Destiny, you could use the wingman.
I'm a terrible
the fire
hand cannon.
rate probably needs to slow down, I think.
I'm a terrible hand cannon PvP player, but I play with the hand cannons in PvE all the time.
Yeah, see, I use hand cannon PvP all the time. So
yeah. So, just to speak to Ryan's comment real quick about how this one feels better than PUBG, for some reason, I think it's because I haven't lost the game, and it been because I just got fucked. Like, PUBG will frequently be like, well, we had to cross this gap and there was nothing else we could do, and we just got fucked by a zone, or we got fucked by a drop, or you know what I mean? Like PUBG will actively ruin your game, and Apex is built so that like even if you have to cross a gap, there's always some kind of cover. The topography of the map is built so that like there's always a flanking route, no matter where you are. It's just better built. But
well, a lot of the champions provide that as well, right? I mean,
exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, PUBG, you could just be like, oh, I'm going to camp real fast. And then 2 seconds later, you're sniped and you're dead. But I could be playing as Wraith, and it's like somebody's looking at me. Like the character will tell that to me, and I can relay that to my team and be like, oh, hey, look, we might get shot. Let's move. You
Yeah.
know, so it's.
Oh, the ping system, guys. The ping system is so fucking good.
Yeah, for playing with randoms, and you can communicate almost as good as being in a headset is fantastic.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Bobby, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, as we like come to a close on Apex, that I think for me it was really nice, and one of the best things about this game was allowing a community to be pleasantly surprised by something. And I think far too many times, like, these games get built up. We talked a lot about hype a few episodes ago, and what that would do. Like, I think hype would have maybe crushed this game rather than like support it. And there was just enough that came out where, like, even in the instance when this game leaked, people were like, fuck it, no Titans, no wall running, I'm out. Like, this isn't a Titanfall game.
They didn't get to ruminate on
right.
It just
the community like started to boil a little bit when they heard some shit, and then they got pushed back. And I think from a news standpoint, to have a game that came out this polished and to come out and attract this many people and to make an impression with little to no advertising really is phenomenal. And it's probably going to be at the top, if not the damn near like #1 spot for game of the year when it comes to, you know, biggest surprise.
This is a case. It's a case study. We talked about this earlier in the week. I mean, the way that this game was. First off, kudos to Respawn for keeping this under wraps. Like, period.
Yeah.
Like,
fuck, dude.
In a world where leaks are so dominant, and I think our next news article we're going to get into that. Because the Xbox Live expansion was technically a leak, but it's in a world where that is thing, and then to have a game kind of leaked. I'm doing air quotes for the people that are going to listen to just the audio, but it was leaked on Sunday, and then all of a sudden Monday it was like, here it is, it just unbelievable, and then. It just worked, guys. It worked.
Yeah.
There was so few issues.
There still are.
I was floored.
Yeah. No. So there's a we could talk about this game forever, and maybe we will have to do that. Maybe we'll have to like find a time to just record us just gushing about Apex for 10, 15, 20 minutes. But suffice it to say, it was a pleasant surprise, and it just continues to keep surprising in how good it is. There is a deep dive trailer that came out recently, and the roadmap shows up at the end, showing that they want to release content every 3 months that includes characters, battle passes, guns, possibly locations. Like, so that's dope. Look forward to that. But also, just to point out how popular this shit is, in the first 8 hours, they had 1 million unique players. In the first 72, they had 10 million unique and 1 million concurrent. That's unheard of. For a game to launch and in 3 days have 10 million people play it, and to be maintaining 1 million and not have any large server issues. I understand PlayStation had to drop out yesterday for some reason. But
they were
Xbox for the win.
But even the PlayStation dropout was like 5 minutes and it was done.
Yeah,
they fixed it.
This is a team that like Eric said, because they didn't leak it. They love what they're doing and where they work, so they're not going to the press and leaking. Because maybe that's a longer conversation, but I think leaks happen when people are not. They want us to be sneaky, and I think the people at Respawn know what the fuck they're doing.
Yep.
Because you don't launch a multiplayer game that lands this well without large amounts of experience, and they love where they work, and it's just dope to see. But we've talked about Apex for a long time. Bobby, do you want to jump into this Xbox Live leak that we were just talking about?
Yeah, we got an article here from VentureBeat. Looks like it was written by Mike Minotti, or Minotti, I think that's how I say it. Anyway, essentially what's coming is that we're looking at Microsoft is looking at Xbox Live to more than just their console, to iOS, Android, and Nintendo Switch, which is pretty fucking wild. To put in perspective, there's currently 400 million Xbox and PC players, and that could grow to a potential 2 billion people. Which,
Ooh.
from like if you think about that, just from like a service standpoint, it's pretty wild. One of the first episodes I did with you guys, we talked a lot about Game Pass and what it could be, and we talked a little bit about xCloud at that time. And I do think that the idea of bringing Xbox to more devices than just a console, this is the vessel that they're going to take, probably. But it makes sense, right? Like, there's been such a good relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft, and like Nintendo lacks a lot of the know-how in certain areas, or like online gaming. Like, point in case, there's a lot of time that I was playing Diablo on my Switch with a few friends. We would just use the party chat feature of the Xbox iOS app, because we couldn't do chat through Nintendo, which was a fucking bummer. And so I think like having this brought across for like unifying those fronts, but also making it easier to jump in and jump out, like what they've done with Minecraft, especially with Realms, and then the Xbox Live achievements showing up there. Like, Switch doesn't have any of those things. So this is just another layer of that tinfoil hat we've put on when it comes to Microsoft and what they're planning on doing.
Taking over the world.
But I do think that bringing the service of Xbox Live, which has been, in my opinion, like a phenomenal service since it launched, it's had its opportunities, but they've continued to add into it, as well as like some of the competitors there. But bringing it across multiple platforms that are not even like Microsoft hardware is really interesting to me on what it could be.
No, this is 100% the infinite vision of Microsoft right now. Phil Spencer, Satya, the leadership, saying we're not playing the game of we're locked to a specific device, right? This is 100% Phil living good on his promise that he made at E3 when he teased Project xCloud with the trailer for Project xCloud dropping. This is 100% laying that framework of, hey guys, in the next year, as we promised, you're going, and especially by the next console generation, we're still going to give you a physical piece of hardware if you want to get it, but we're not going to segment our audience. If you've got an iPad and you want to sit in the living room and play with your friends, knock yourself out. We do not care as Microsoft anymore. All we want is you in that ecosystem, and that's 100% going to do it. And I love Sony to death, but they make some great games. But hey, guys,
yeah. Man, there was a trend for Eric and I when we started this podcast in June, where I think every episode we mentioned Fortnite, and it became almost annoying. No, it became annoying. And for people listening, you may be annoyed by this, but we will probably continue to talk about Microsoft crushing it because we haven't had a reason to stop. And the reason I say that is because this is, again, just another example of Microsoft living up to that infinite game mindset, where they're not playing to beat anybody anymore. They're playing to better the environment of gaming. They're not trying to win against PlayStation. And I think more signs go to show, and I'm going to segue this right into the next news article, as Sony has seen their stock drop recently, and I'm going to pull up this link real quick. It goes to show that we're in a place where Sony has been playing to win against Microsoft for so long that once they started, I think they lost sight, because they were like, well, we won, so who cares? But Sony's stock price, this is from Game Informer, written by Imran Khan. Sony's stock price dropped 8.1%, the highest decline since 2015 for the company, which so I don't know what the future looks like for Sony, y'all. Like, their stock just took a hit, for the largest hit for the first time in 4 years. They're not going to E3. They didn't have their PlayStation experience.
I think, like, just to like be a little devil's advocate here, the stock market as a whole is fucking tanking right now.
No, this is true.
So like everybody took a pretty big hit. Now I do think that Sony taking a hit, like, it's strange considering like the numbers they were putting up. Like, they had multiple games in 2018 that were some of the highest selling of that generation, or this generation. I can't remember if Red Dead came out on. I'm sorry, I can't remember if Red Dead sold more on Xbox or on PlayStation. Regardless, like they had God of War, they also had Spider-Man, which I think Spider-Man was like the highest selling ever.
Spider-Man sold more than any Spider-Man movie ever has.
Yeah, so I mean, like they definitely made some money there on some of those exclusives,
Sure.
and it's interesting to see like where they're going. Like I don't want to shit on Sony much. Like, this is a nice bridge between what we were just previously talking about with Microsoft.
Yeah.
I was an avid Microsoft Xbox 360 fan. I did not appreciate some of the announcements that came with the Xbox One. I washed my hands and I went to PlayStation 4. I was kind of a naysayer for Microsoft for a few years, and I ended up getting an Xbox. And now when people ask me like, "Hey, what console should I get?" I used to say, "Well, get a PlayStation because they have better exclusives, and you still get that experience." Now with some of the quality of life stuff on Microsoft, I think that the lack of transparency and forming of the community around PlayStation and like this self-imposed arrogance, it seems like, when it comes to like what we're going to do or not do. Like this, to me, this shows that people are wanting a little bit more communication and dialogue. And regardless of sales, what you're seeing, like Nintendo has kind of stepped in. They've been selling, fucking hotcakes after hotcakes after hotcakes of the Switch. And then you've got Microsoft doing some really interesting things with Game Pass, and they've been swooping up some developers. And then Sony's over here. They've got like one or two cards that they already showed us for this year, and we haven't heard a whole lot about those. So I'm not too surprised by it, but yeah.
One,
Eric?
we call that intro of the Xbox One the Don Matrick effect, Bobby, around here. So just so you know. Caleb's gonna just shake his head. Yep, there it is. There it is.
You just man, it's so good. It's the conversation about the rise and fall and re-rise of Xbox.
Yeah. Well, I said Don Matrick, and now my blood's boiling, and I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. Just makes
Don't say it again.
Don't say it again. He'll show up.
Yeah, if you say it a third time, he'll fucking
Beetlejuice us.
The green screen's going to disappear. Like it's going to fall down. And he's just going to be standing behind me, and we're all going to be like, ah. Anyway, no shit. Now I forgot what I was going to say. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's just it's crazy.
You said you call it the Don Matrick effect.
Yeah, no, I know that. That was a smart ass comment. I actually had something legitimate to say, so let's just move on, and I'll remember it in 5 minutes and not. Remember it, so
we can do that. All right, so I want to run through the last news stuff because there's some things that we added late, and there's some things that I think need to be brought up but not talked about for super long. Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered is coming to Xbox One, PS4, and PC March 29th. For owners of the Assassin's Creed Odyssey Season Pass, you get that with it. It has all single-player DLC and also a remastered Assassin's Creed Liberation with it. EA, in their earnings report, announced, or I guess confirmed, that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, another game by Respawn, is coming out this fall. So that's dope. Fallout 76 might be dead. Nobody gives a fuck. And Activision is laying off a bunch of people. That's something interesting that we'll talk about more when we do the our big publishers dead or dying topic. But Activision's had a couple of rough months and a especially rough week, and they're I think the phrase was they're focusing their company more, and they've got about 9,000 employees, and I think I read that they're laying off like 8% or 10% or something like that. So that sucks. Yeah, and then finally, just to wrap up news, kind of ending on a bummer, but a Twitch streamer and game dev was arrested in a child sex sting. This is from Kotaku. I'll run through it real quick. It was by Cecilia D'Anastasio. Thomas Chung, an employee of a game studio called Hi-Rez, and a partner Twitch streamer, was arrested last weekend in Brookhaven, Georgia, in a connection with a Super Bowl weekend child sex sting. So yeah, he was one of 21 men arrested. That sucks, but yeah, I don't know. There's not really much to say about that. Just don't be a piece of shit.
Wait, he was a Hi-Rez employee? I missed that in the article.
Yeah, he was a Hi-Rez employee.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one of them things. Wife fly by.
Yeah,
Hi, wife.
Such a weird place in the industry as it is. Anyway, they make some of the best clones in the world.
My daughter's still asleep. She wanted to come in and say that because that's fucking weird. Yeah, Eric, if your kids wake up at noon, my daughter wakes up at 7 every day because my wife is such a fucking morning person. But anyway, sorry. We've talked about news for a long time, but it's Bounty Brunch, guys. We like taking our time on Bounty Brunch because it's fun and we enjoy each other's presence and company. But this week, we're going to talk about something that I think weighs in with a lot of the topics we talked about in the news, and that is Apex Legends released and was free to play, is free to play, and has microtransactions. And people don't like microtransactions on their face. What the Jesus? People don't like microtransactions basically because of the name microtransactions, it seems. And so it prompted a conversation among all of us this week about whether or not games should be more expensive. So we had another topic planned, but we talked about this so much we decided to switch it to this week. So boys, should games be more expensive?
I think that there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. It's not a simple question.
It's not a simple question. I think that there's a few things. So like whenever I just want to go back before we like do a roundtable on it to what you said about microtransactions. I think what pisses people off about microtransactions and maybe DLC in general is people feel like they're buying an incomplete product. And I think that's what really like throws people off is that, hey, I'm spending $60 on this game. That's what it should cost.
Sure.
This is where like it's been for a couple decades now. I remember when I used to be able to go and buy a game and it was complete. Why can't I buy a complete game? Why should I have to pay you more for this game that I'm buying? And I think that there is a little bit of like distorted reality around gaming and what goes into making these experiences we like, our expectations of what those experiences should be.
Sure.
And we talked a lot about this when we did mobile gaming as a group, when we talked about like a game that would come out on console being $30, but then people wouldn't buy it if it was on this platform for say $10, or if it was the same cost on an iPad as it was on an Xbox, people would turn their nose up at it. And I think that there's an interesting like phenomenon happening in our culture around like what value and benefit should be from gaming. So
Sure.
I'm super like torn as like part of me as a consumer enjoys like the predictability of paying $60 for a game. On the other side of it, like somebody who has been paid to create things myself, like it bums me out to think that like I would have to do a flat fee and maintain a project over a year. At that like that would be really, really shitty. And like I wouldn't agree to do that. Like I don't know much people who like create content or fix things or work as a contractor would do that shit. And so like why do we essentially flip that? So those are things that I just want to figure out.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric's got his hand raised.
Well, no,
so
I was actually raising my hand to Bobby's point. Like I actually just put a contract in somebody that has updates.
Hold on. You put a contract in somebody?
Yes. Right in here.
Sign this.
Sign it now. And then I'll remove it.
Sorry, I couldn't
remove
let that slide. Go ahead.
I found that. No, what I'm saying is I actually put a contract in somebody to produce some logos over the year for them, right? That update based on the shifts that are going to see in their business model and stuff like that. So it's an ongoing contract. So it's kind of the same, and it's interesting. And I feel like it's an evolution right now. We talked about this a lot on a lot of the other podcasts, specifically with the mobile one, right? It's an evolution of culture, right? And we have been the staples of this gaming culture, this group, this demographic, right? And I know we represent the span of 10 years here across the panel.
Are you technically a millennial?
I am being dubbed as a Zennial, right? We are right
like the Gen X, Gen
we're not Gen X, we're not millennial. We are the first. We are the generation of people that understand how to use all of these apps and can figure them out. But like, I don't live my life by it. When I leave my office, my phone gets put down, and I don't have to have my phone in my hand 100% of the time to feel like I'm not connected to something. Where that's a lot of. We could talk about kids and raising kids with social media on a totally. I have very.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's a whole other episode.
Where I may get angry and yell.
Oh boy, we kind of have to do this now because I want to see that.
Yeah. But my point is I think as my kids get older, and I've noticed the expectation for them, and we talked about this on the mobile games, their expectation is not a game costs $60. Their expectation is, I get a game, and now I know that I'm going to have to pay if I want the next level $5. I know that I have to. I know that this game costs me nothing, and my expectation is, I'm going to have to pay $10 down the road and things like that. So I think it's a cultural shift. And to be honest with you, I think it's the only way that the world can support the rising cost in games. And hate me or love me for saying it.
No, there's some. Yeah, go ahead.
It's true. Games are moving to a service, and the only way you support an ongoing service model is with supplemental income. Unless a game costs $1,000 out of the gate and you sell 1 million copies, you're not going to be able to just develop shit down the road. And the chat said it. They're perfect microtransactions. I have zero problem with microtransactions if they are cosmetic, if they are for a chance to get a skin. That's a gambling ethics thing on the chance deal. We'll get with that. But MOBAs have been doing this for how long's League of Legends been out now? 10 years?
Yeah.
Nobody bitches. It's just now that it's anyway. It's I feel like it's a natural evolution, and we're culturally getting away from. And look, guys, if the community is okay with games costing $200, $300, $400 when they come out, knock yourselves out. But I would much rather pay $30 for a game and then support it ongoing as I feel it should be supported. And I think it's going to cause, ultimately, in closing here, I think this is going to cause developers, like what Respawn just did with Apex, to put out a superior product that earns the cash of the consumer. Because it's no longer, I pay you $60, I get the whole game, I play it for 6 months, and I'm loyal to you. Moving on to the next one. Now it is, I have put free-to-play money. I've paid no cost entry. I've downloaded your game. I'm obsessed with it. Like, the second I saw that trailer, I threw Respawn $30 just to say good job. Right?
Yeah. So there's an issue. There's an issue with that though, because if we're talking about an industry that is based solely on making and maintaining income, right? Mm-hmm. Releasing a free game to earn people's stuff is a fucking gamble.
It is.
Like Respawn did it because they knew people wanted Titanfall 3 and because they knew they had something special. But the number of game studios that are willing to take that risk, I think are far outnumbered by the number of publishers that will not take that risk. And EA is kind of in a spot. I think Respawn kind of caught EA in a spot where they could do whatever the fuck they wanted. And EA was just like, please release something. They're like, we didn't talk about this, but we'll talk about it next week when we do the publisher talk. But EA is had a tough 2018. But like, I don't know if we're going to see many games released that are as polished as this and free. That's just like the amount of money that went into the development of this game is probably higher than most people think or understand. And releasing it free is a huge gamble. I don't know. I wanted to have a more elaborate point on that, but I think that's just like the most.
Well, I think I've got two things I just want to say in rebuttal to that. One, you've got Vince Zampella, who is a visionary to begin with. Every time that guy releases something, regardless of whether or not the community as a whole, there is something revolutionary about it. I mean, the guy put Call of Duty on the map.
Right? And then won his lawsuit against the publisher to take his idea somewhere else.
Yeah. And then he said, no, fuck you, publishers. I'm Vince Zampella. I have 700-pound balls, and I'm going to throw them at you.
Oh, and then he signed a contract with EA that said that they have complete creative freedom and EA's money. Which is
like the dude.
You can't do that unless you've got clout.
Yeah, that deadpan stare of his that he has 100% of the time is there. I think
he's always high.
Yeah,
it's not. He's always high. Sorry, go on.
We're not endorsing anything here. We're not making accusations. He just has a very.
If you make Apex Legends, you're allowed to be high.
Yeah, I get it. I'm not arguing that. Pop the bubbly and hit that blunt.
That's on the back of Eric's shirt. Pop that bubbly and hit that blunt.
That's the new House of Glass tagline. Somebody quote
I'll get you a Snuggie.
I want a Snuggie.
Is it Snuggie the apex of soft clothes?
Yes. Yeah. And I want it old English. Pop the bubbly on the left arm and old English.
There'll be a lot of. It'll be neon green pot leaves all over it too.
Perfect.
All over print.
Amazing.
Oh my God! Old English font with neon green pot leaves is the.
It's coming.
This is amazing.
This is coming.
Still something in the tip jar there, guys. So you get one too.
Yep.
Yo, we gotta have a soft. Skiwi said in the chat he wants a Bobby stream in a Snuggie. We need to have a Snuggie. We need to have a Snuggie. Oh my God, Snuggie Bounty Brunch.
Snuggie Bounty Brunch. I like it.
Snuggie Bobby Brunch. I can do that.
Snuggle Brunch.
Ooh.
Oh God, I love it.
You're talking my love language over there.
This took a fucking turn.
Snuggle Brunch. Bobby got aroused.
That may be the first podcast I have to fly to St. Louis, or you guys have to come down here to actually do.
Oh my God!
Where we're all together,
all on one couch and a bunch of snuggies, just snuggle
or
brunch.
one big snuggie.
Oh my God!
With a blanket, Ryan.
No. A snuggie. It's got armholes, so we're all sitting there. We all have our own armholes.
Like a human centipede, fucking snuggie.
I don't know where this is going.
This is getting out of hand.
this got out of hand real fast.
The future of Bounty Brunch.
Let's bring it back. That's
this topic is.
I feel like we've turned this from Bounty Brunch into Booty Board.
Yes. Shit.
Let's
we've already
enough for that.
So we've already kind of.
What were we talking about?
I got something I want to add to this. Not the snuggie stuff.
Okay.
Let's
Let's get back on topic.
So I think, to everybody's points thus far, a model that would work, and hear me out, is already been proved a little bit by Microsoft with a subscription service. And I think if they did a flat rate, so like right now, I think most of us, from what I've picked up on the chat, is there's maybe one or two games, like outside of like games with gold or free PS Plus games or anything with Game Pass. Like if you were going to spend your money on a game per month, so far without the announcement of Apex, there was like maybe 2 or 3 games each, I'd say, for February that we were all like pretty much take our money on, right?
Sure.
And so even then, like if you switch to a flat rate, like $5 or $6 a month per game, and you are going to pay that over and over and over a month, and you can stop at any point in time. Like I think a lot of things are moving to a subscription service to begin with. Mm-hmm. Like look at how we are doing, like Netflix. You've got Amazon Prime now that you subscribe to, like that service per year. Like we talked about this before as well, but I think these games,
commoditization of service.
Yeah, I mean, like it could work to, rather than spending the $400 that Eric mentioned earlier. Like if you were going to, like, even beyond just like a free to play method, like if Anthem were to come out and they were going to say, hey, the game is $5 a month, play it as long as you want to, play it however you want to, like over a period of time, like that's a game that like is a service, right? And if I look at Destiny, and when I was playing that for years on end, like the amount of money they would have made from me if I just paid $5 a month versus the $100 for the edition I purchased each time a new version came out, plus the season pass stuff, probably would have been about the same or more. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because if you look at like all the things that are coming out now in terms of services, not just games, that are like non-contract based but monthly charges, like for instance like Simply Safe, or like internet now, where you can pay per month and like not pay when you can't or when you don't need it. I think that's an interesting thought. Like if I could pay $5 a month for Destiny whenever I wanted to play it and then cut that off, and yeah, sure, it blocks access to me, but like if I want to play it again, just throw in $5 and spin up the engine again and get into it.
I think that's paying full price for a game though, and then paying $5, or are we just talking about paying $5 a month right
now?
No,
I think Bobby, I don't know, Bobby, you can answer that.
Now we're getting into MMO territory, right? Where this has been the MMO model for years, and everybody's kind of moving away from that with the cost of that plus a $14 a month subscription,
right?
Whatever it might be.
Sorry, I got to interrupt real quick. It's a human snugglepede, but we can go on.
I think that I think that free to play is really interesting, and I think for the last decade, that's been the go-to model for mobile, and now it's came over a little bit more prominently to some of our consoles that we're used to. But yeah, MMO, totally. Like you were paying $15 a month to play those games, which like now, like essentially 2 months is what some of these games on sale cost. So like that makes a lot of money over a 12-month period, where I think like if you spend $5 over a year, like that ends up being that game, and the idea is that you can continue it. But
Are you talking an initial purchase though first, and then
no,
$5 a month, or
no,
just straight up $5 a
just
month?
straight up $5. And
Yeah.
I think that's like the idea is that even like there'll be people who will skip a game. Like there's people I know on principle that won't spend $60 on a game. They will wait for a sale. They will rent it. They will borrow it from a friend. They will
Yeah.
do all they can to avoid paying.
How many more
that.
people? How many more people do you scoop up by just starting at $5?
Yeah, I think that it becomes one of those situations where it's like you might have thousands of people in the first month's release throw you $5 up front where they maybe wouldn't have bought that game at all, and like it's an interesting piece.
Yeah. So,
but then you got
I'll go
games,
for it.
people like me, like I was pumped for Red Dead. I would have paid $5 for that first month and been like, fuck this game. But what I did is I paid full price and I
And
played
then
it for
you're stuck with
30 minutes. And I'm stuck with it because it's a digital download. There's nothing else I can do
I
about
paid
it. They still got
$99 for that shit.
Yeah, they got my full year
the amount
of
of disdain
subscription if
coming
we did
from
it that way,
So
all at one time instead.
Yeah, sure.
It's an interesting thing, and and you see this in the tech industry all the time, right? You see massive proliferation of ideas, thoughts, companies, whatnot. So, for example, when CRM was the big thing, and when I say CRM, I mean things like Sugar, Salesforce, these tools that everybody has to use these days. Somebody has Oracle. You saw massive. Same thing happened with marketing automation platforms, Marketo, Eloqua, these types of things. Where you saw massive proliferation of the tech. You could look at I would go to conferences, marketing conferences, and I would see the stack, a stack slide of a company that was doing the keynote speech, and they would literally have in their technology stack under marketing automation, there would be 52,000 products. That's a big number, but there may have been 52, right? And then over the years, as I go to like these MarTech conferences, serious decision conferences, and things like that, I see that MarTech stack getting smaller and smaller and smaller because there's massive consolidation. Right now, we are in that period of expansion, of idea generation, where there's going to be a company popping up a minute that does things better. I mean, if we're talking about solely subscription services, Humble Bundle has one. You've got Game Pass. You now have Discord. If you pay $99 a year, you're getting the same free service shit that you're getting from everything else. Steam does it. Epic does it. There's a couple of smaller ones out there that are starting to do it. And we're going to see that proliferation of tech until there's an equilibrium formed and we reach the top of that bell curve, and then everything starts to center around what actually works.
Sure.
So I think, I could get into the economics of the business and everything else around, finding the market center point, the saturation point of the market and stuff like that. But it's at this point, I think it's all speculation. It's all hearsay until I think Microsoft has got it right. I think we're going to start to see a lot of publishers gravitate towards that model, and then Microsoft start doing what Netflix is doing and going out to third parties and saying, "Hey, here's $50 million. Go make us a game."
Mm-hmm. I want to throw something in here really quick if I can, guys.
Go for it.
So around the time you mentioned Red Dead earlier, and around that time there was some really unfortunate news that was breaking around some of the work-life balances that was happening in the industry. And then I think it became a little bit more of a conversation around like we should see unionization happening across the board for these guys to protect them.
Yeah.
And like I don't think anybody, because I've talked to a lot of people offline about this, and like before we even brought up the subject of like games costing more, there was a like, hey, do you think that the people who make these games you love should be better protected? And it was like, absolutely, without fucking doubt, like they should take care of them, they should unionize. And I'm like, okay, should games cost more than $60? And they say, absolutely not, there's no way I would ever do that. And it's just like, okay, well hang on a second, because you can't have fucking both of those things. Like you can't want a better work-life balance for these people and then expect to pay them the same fucking shit that you've been paying them for the last 2 decades. Like games, like I put that picture up in our Discord of like old and new, like it was games from like the first Zelda to Breath of the Wild.
Yo, dude, it's amazing.
And it's amazing.
That picture is so good.
And I think that when you start to look at like just at that, you're like, oh my God, games have come a long way. Well, no shit, they've come a long way. There's a lot of fucking people working on them. It's a huge industry. But then why are we treating it the exact same we have? Trust me, like my wife would not like it if games became more expensive. I promise you that much. I necessarily wouldn't like it either, but I'm also under the impression of these are things that like I enjoy. Like I spend so much time in this world playing video games that as a lifelong consumer of it, I should and be willing to support the growth and expansion and quality of life that goes with it. And I think that if that requires a subscription, if that requires free to play, like to your point, Eric, I paid $30 last night to respawn an EA for Apex Legends because I have gotten an enjoyment out of that game and I wanted to support that cause because I believe that a good product deserves money. And I think that's what it is.
Yeah, no, I think. Oh, go ahead, Ryan. Sorry,
Ryan.
So I do like the subscription portion of it, but what if they did something like this? Like, yeah, like Fortnite, they've got their Game Pass. Other games have it too. No, so you can pay for that. But what if you could just subscribe to the developer? So like with Apex, what if you could just subscribe to Respawn itself and kind of more of like I guess like a Patreon it would be in a way, but you could do a monthly subscription to that actual developer itself, and in return they have specific things that only subscribers get. Like at one point with Netflix, I think if you subscribed, like you only got specific kind of things or something like that. But some companies do that, but they give you an extra like care package for being subscribed to them themselves.
Yeah.
And that way, I've got this cool skin that nobody else in the normal playing field can actually do. Like that way you can still support the games you and the developers that you want to support without supporting everybody at the exact same time.
Yeah, so I was thinking of just that a second ago, where I was thinking like if Game Pass released a game that was bigger than what we've gotten on Game Pass, which is kind of hard to say because there's some pretty large titles on there, but like say a game like Metro was launching on Game Pass and you had to still pay for Metro outside of Game Pass, I would totally be okay with that. Like if premium games became a thing in Game Pass where you still pay the $10 per month for Game Pass, but you also have to drop 20 on Metro to play it. Instead of 60, it's 20. And you still have to have the Game Pass subscription. I would be okay with that. And I wonder if that's something that might evolve out of Game Pass because I'm totally fine paying $10 a month, dropping 20 on a game that's big and brand new and coming to Game Pass so that they get a little more money.
I think that's 100% where this is going. If you think about, to Ryan's point, the evolution of Netflix, right? When Netflix first came out, it was $10 a month. You got 3 DVDs. A couple years later, and I remember this because I had to sell it at Best Buy, and then all of a sudden my manager was on my ass to sell premium Netflix. And now you're getting 3 DVDs plus the streaming service, which was shit when it started. Then eventually it evolved. I just got an email from Netflix saying, hey, look, here's why your costs are going up this year. Your costs are going from $12.99 to $14.99 a month, and here's why. In order to support the new development, the new 4K content, we've got to increase that a little bit. So I 100% see, but I can drop that down if I want to keep my cost nominal. They're offering me a new tier of service where I just don't have access to the 4K content, right?
Yeah.
So I see that Game Pass evolving into that model where there are different tiers of subscription based on what based on what you are, what your tolerance is, and what your budget is. I mean, we already know that's a thing. Microsoft's already doing that, right? With the contracted Xbox that you can buy. From for whatever it might be. I think whatever Smurf just said is I think he's exactly right. I think we're going to talk. I think we're going to talk about that in our publishers podcast, but that's where we are. Gaming is as an industry. Gaming right now as an industry is where music was when Napster was taking all the artists' money.
I was just about to bring up the music analogy. Yep. Like it's perfect.
Yep. Yeah, when Napster was cracking skulls, we're in that same place.
And Napster forced, and I feel like now Game Pass is doing it completely legally, right? I feel like where Napster forced an industry to evolve. Yeah. And everybody scrambled to catch up real quick. I feel like that equilibrium has now been found. Music is now Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever your $15 a month is. That's how you're consuming. That's how you're consuming, and I feel like that's where gaming is right now. And that's what I was talking about earlier with that consolidation effort. There's going to end up being a few big players. And I hate to harp on it again. We said at the beginning of the podcast, Microsoft is at the forefront of that consolidation. And they
with Game
have
Pass, absolutely.
the perfect, best service out there for that. Bobby, go.
So for the music thing, like right now, I have over the next 3 to 4 months about 7 to 8 concerts booked, paid for, ready to go. And it's no different that like I've streamed their music. If I like what I hear, I go and I buy the record. I own that physical media to support that artist. And then if they come into the area, I'm gonna go and see them live. And I might even buy like a sticker or a pin or something there, like to support them
T-shirts all the time. Yeah, let's do it.
So it's one of those situations where like we don't bat an eye as a community when it comes to that. When people are going to go, oh, I'm going to go to a concert. I got this fucking $50 Taylor Swift T-shirt because I sat in the nosebleed section to watch that tour. Like it's one of those situations where everybody's like, oh, cool.
Hold on.
He has a Taylor Swift shirt.
Not
Okay.
me.
All right.
No, that wasn't a story. That was him.
Got it.
I'm just saying, like, for example, we as a community, like, music aside, like her music, whatever, like people don't think anything of that. They're like, oh, you paid $200 to your concert tickets and you bought a $50 T-shirt and God knows what. But yet, if we say, hey, you should spend $30 more on that game that you love and you've spent far more time with, and you maybe that album, who knows? Like, I just think that it's an interesting, like, there's societal things that keep us from like being okay with it because it's just, this is how it is. This is what it is. And like, that's what led the music industry to fucking crash and burn. They're trying their damnedest to rebuild it right now. I think that physical media sales are up due to artists taking a bit more control over like the packaging and some of the things that they add in, like the pre-order bonus, so to speak, for like, hey, I'm going to get this vinyl. Well, I could pay $5 more.
Yeah, and games are already there for that.
I know. Like, you're going to get a bunch of shit. You're going to get some swag with it that maybe you wouldn't get if you bought the standard edition.
Yeah.
But if you like that artist, or if you like that company, or if you like that game, it's kind of a non-issue. Like, you're just going to do it because you care about it. And emotions weigh in pretty heavily on things that you like. So,
yeah,
I don't know. It's weird.
I want to jump into chat for a second because Skiwi and I have been having a pretty good conversation. So we brought up unionization, and Skiwi's initial reaction was that he doesn't think it's a good thing because it's such a volatile industry, and that there's no way studios, not students, would be able to afford it. And just to recap for people that are listening to the podcast and not here on stream, that conversation has gone back and forth between like studios not being able to afford unionization, and then my response that unionization would have to be specific based on like your income as a studio and the number of people you have, so that small companies wouldn't have to unionize and could do contract stuff more frequently, and that big companies like Ubisoft and not Red Dead, but Rockstar would have to unionize because they're so huge. There's a lot of conversation that goes around about this. And Skiwi did bring up that like if unionization does set up laws that say you have to make this amount if they set up sliders that are based on your amount of income and your number of people, he's right. Like there is a chance that there will be studios. There's not even a chance. There will be studios that's purposefully aimed below that bar so that they don't have to unionize. But what I think comes from that is people like the companies can do what they want to try and avoid unionization laws if it comes to that, but the people that work there are going to demand different things. And I think that overall the unionization argument is less an argument of pure what am I trying to say? Sorry. It's less an idea of like pure and by the definition unionization, and more an argument of these studios are doing their damnedest to not take care of their people, it seems. And the people are fucking tired of it. And so maybe unionization isn't the be all end all answer, but it's definitely a stepping stone along a path to get, the employees, these people that are making our games and like ruining their lives doing it, getting them some kind of protection.
Right. And I think an intermediary step there is not, I 100% agree. There needs to be something that the gamer, the game developer, not the developers, the people that are working for the developers need something like the Screen Actors Guild, or something, some type of organization. It doesn't necessarily have to be full union. I think the interesting thing there is, and I I am the entrepreneur or capitalist of the group, right? We are all aware of this. So I think it's an interesting thing to go with how you figure that out, and there's economies there, and how does it work? And I kind of agree with Skiwi. Studios are going to purposely not hire and keep lower headcount to make sure that that's there. But on the other side of that sword, those employees are then going to figure out, like, wait a minute, the owner of the studio is going to. The market always finds balance, right? It always equalizes itself in some fashion after some sort of time. It's completely cyclical. And I think right now, going back to my earlier point, we are at that side of this. We are at that side of the ebb and the flow of shit. Napster's out, i.e. Game Pass in this scenario. How the hell are we all going to keep up with this? Because everybody wants to be over here. We've got to figure this out and kind of find that balance point, which is where I think we are.
Yeah. So to transition the conversation a little bit away, we've talked a lot about games with like their ability to have game passes, rocket or battle passes, those kinds of ideas, and being able to like microtransaction their way into like better fiscal standing. That doesn't,
microtransact into my heart, baby.
That I think that conversation is great and is accounts for a very large portion of games, but what it doesn't account for is the other large portion of games, which is single player games. And like as much as like battle passes, rocket passes, like those themed ideas that give you a bunch of content and stuff while you play the game for multiplayer and level up and things like that, we haven't seen a good. Maybe it's possible, but we haven't seen a good implementation of that in a single player game. And I think that's kind of the fear that's been popping up in people's brains in the last like 3 years, is that single player games are dangerously low earning if they're not huge hits like God of War and Spider-Man. And microtransactions don't fly for people buying single player games. Like the only beef Ubisoft has gotten recently is that the Assassin's Creed games have had microtransactions built into the campaign. Not built into the campaign. They're not required, but their single player games have microtransactions and people fucking hate them. And it's like, dude, like don't get them if you don't like them.
Change channel. Yep.
But how do single player games continue to survive and thrive in an environment where games that make money are able to make money over time based on constant multiplayer interaction?
Well, I think also like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like that's an interesting one because they agreed that like for every paid DLC we release, we're going to release a free one as well for the community. And I think that some of the cosmetic things that you can purchase in that game as a microtransaction, again, like it has perks because it is a piece of gear that does qualify for, you know, some sort of stat in the game.
Sure.
If you like the way it looks, fucking buy it. But the other thing too is it's like, I'll be the first to raise my hand and say like, I paid for the double XP, the permanent double XP in that game because it's fucking massive. And at the time that game came out, I knew I was going to be juggling a few things leading up to Game of the Year discussions on the previous podcast. And I wanted to get through that game and elevate my character the best that I could. So it was like, what, $10 to cut in half the XP game? Now, I think that's a little slimy. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that should be something you get in game.
Yeah.
But, like, the ethics of it, whatever. Like, I personally made a decision. Nobody forced me to do that. Like, I supported it because it worked best for, like, what I was doing. Like, I don't think that you should necessarily have to do that. But, again, like, to your point, I did it. Like, it's just something that, like, worked out well for me.
So I've got an interesting... I realized... I'm going to pick on you, Ryan. I realize that you don't play single player games very much. And I want to evolve this question kind of specifically for you. Like, what will make you buy a single player game? No. Because we used to play Assassin's Creed together, like single player outside of the multiplayer together all the time. And we completely stopped doing that after like Revelations, mostly because the multiplayer started to suck. But like if single player, like the reason single player is not surviving is people like you, and I'm not trying to single you out or say you're a bad person. It's not. It's absolutely a trend in the industry.
Yes,
but there's a lot of.
Is.
Fuck off, Eric. I'm almost talking to you. But a lot of people like you have stopped playing single player games because of like the constant updates and immersiveness of multiplayer games. So what does a single player game have to do to appeal to you?
It has to have more people to play with. Like that's the thing.
Single player.
It has to not be single player because I've got so many games that I can go jump in with and play and experience at the exact same time with somebody over the internet that, I mean, if I was playing a single player game and I had people hanging out in the same room with me, it's a little different because they're experiencing it with me. We're talking about it right now, what just happened in the game, compared to I can jump in with three with the two of you guys, and we can go play Apex right now and do some massive killing
So it's an
of
argument of
everybody
like,
in amazing plays. So
yeah.
it's
Is it an argument of cooperative then? Like you just need cooperative. You don't need like adversarial multiplayer. You need like
right.
someone to
I
play it
need
with.
I want somebody to play with. I mean, I've said multiple times on the podcast is I get on, there's nobody to play with. 9 out of 10 times, I'm not going to stay on for the rest of the night.
Sure.
Or I'm going to find out if anybody's getting on soon, and then I'll do something else to occupy my time until then. But
have you tried? So Skiwi brought up something dope in the chat, and I'm sorry guys if it feels like I'm taking over. I don't mean to be. But Skiwi brought up something dope in the chat that he said that's why he loves streaming single player story based games. Have you tried streaming like a single player game? That way you've got that like camaraderie of people hanging out with you without the game actually offering it.
I haven't yet.
Because you streamed
at the same
Astroneer by
time,
yourself.
well, I mean, I friggin' streamed Farm Simulator for 8 hours, but that I wouldn't qualify as a single player game.
Were you playing with anybody?
No.
That's single player, right?
Yeah, but I'm talking more single player as like storyline, Red Dead, Assassin's Creed, things like that. But I see your hand up. Chill out. He keeps putting it down and back up.
Eric has been a flurry of motion right now.
actually, go ahead, finish your point. But Adam Muski brings up exactly what I was going to say, and I'm glad you're here for this, Adam. Go ahead.
So, I would probably stream it if more of if I get a consistent viewer basis. If I knew somebody would be there, maybe. Yeah. Instead of I played Apex the other night for like 5 hours and I had 2 or 3 people pop in. But if it's somebody's sitting there and I've got somebody talking with and watching what's happening or like helping me through something at the same time, I could see myself doing it. But it's more of the camaraderie at the same time. Everybody's seeing what's happening. Yeah. That's what breaks it for me.
I think, sure. And this is the and Skiwi is predominantly a Skiwi predominantly. He is a predominant single player streamer, and that's I think that's something every streamer goes through and struggles. And I'm just now getting to the point in the recent months where I'm able to do this when I'm playing a single player game. And I don't want to. We're going to have a topic solely on streaming in the next couple of weeks, where you have to talk constantly if you're playing a single player game. I think that's where a lot of younger streamers fall back into. They want to play with their friends. They want to be in a party. And it's not that I don't want to play with you guys, but there are nights where for my stream, I'm going to play a single player game and I'm going to interact with my community because my community has hit the follow button. They've hit the subscribe button and whatnot to interact with me. And if I'm always in a party with somebody, I'm not interacting with my community and streaming that content, right? So I think that's where it is. I think Adamuski is maybe of all the people in the chat right now, the most successful at this. He is a Minecraft streamer. If you guys don't, if we can get a shout out for Adam Skiwi, that'd be great. And he does this probably better than everybody in the stream right now. He is constantly talking about what he's doing in Minecraft, constantly talking about building it, and he draws a crowd for that. And, outside of that, no offense, guys, to those of you with beards, his puts y'all's to shame. I mean, it is beautiful.
I'm working on it, though.
It makes me the most jealous. But I think that's one of the interesting things that you bring up. But I feel like, to Caleb, your original point, developers are having a tough time finding the dollars in making a single-player experience, right? And even what was it? Was it Microsoft or I can't remember who had the tagline, "Games are better together," or something like that, or maybe that was EA. But the point being is
look it up.
Even Anthem, while has a single player campaign, forces you to be in parties in free roam with other people, right? I can't go into free roam I can go into free roam and be by myself. I can go to the other side of the world where everybody else is.
Minecraft had a better together update with Nintendo.
That's what it was. Okay. So
Yep.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Microsoft and Switch or Nintendo. Right, and then yes, Kiwi, I think it is there is and not to bring on not to harbor on my stream, but the whole time the 3 parts I played through Hellblade, I was able to talk about the personal connection I had with that with my stream from a single player experience because I'm affected by that a similar mental disorder, right? Which I have had to work with my entire life, and that's why sometimes you guys see me looking like over here. Or the motion comes out like crazy. That's what it is. Yeah, but you got it anyway, Adam. My point is I think it's an interesting dynamic where even you see at the top tier the Shrouds, the Docs, the Ninjas, and whatnot, they will play for 4 or 5 hours by themselves before even squatting up for that stuff. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so everybody knows, I think Ryan disconnected. His camera hasn't moved in a couple seconds, so we're gonna continue. Oh,
No,
he's moving again. He's
He's
moving
back.
again.
It's bugging out.
Yeah,
It's
he
bugging out.
fell out of he fell out of the recording for a second, so maybe his internet hiccuped. That's okay. We'll figure that out. Timestamp this so we know where to fix it.
So Ryan, did you hear anything I just said?
No, I heard it all.
Okay.
I've just been in the process of figuring out why I can't click on anything, can't close anything. So
yeah, so Sarge, you need to go back into the Discord and grab that link.
I can't even open it, dude. I can't do anything on my PC. I can't close out of any apps that I have open, so I don't know what's going on.
What is
I'm trying to let it catch up.
Can anybody hear him?
Yeah, I can hear him through Skype.
What is he saying?
He's saying he can't click on anything. He can't do anything. He can't. Nothing's happening.
Fun.
I'm gonna reboot my PC. I'll be back.
Well.
Your internet's clearly back on. His PC is cock blocking him. That's hilarious.
Well, no. So what I'm doing? So what I did is I brought the
Skype audio back up.
Yeah, I'm listening. I can hear you guys through Skype, where I have brought the audio for. I've muted the cast audio to my headset.
Sure. Yeah. He froze up again. His internet's having a heart attack.
Well, Ryan also does a thing where he just holds the power button down on his PC as opposed to trying to control anything. So I have a feeling
he just turned everything off.
He just turned everything off, which may ultimately cause us to have to restart the Skype call. So stand by. Anyway, let's continue. Or are we waiting for Ryan?
Yeah, no, we can continue.
So I had a question I was going to ask you guys a little bit before we got into some of the streaming stuff. So when it comes to like pre-ordering a game, like we talked a little bit about hype and like how you should or shouldn't pre-order, but when you buy a game, do you guys traditionally buy just the standard $60 variant of that game, or do you spend more money and get the like maybe Ultimate or Gold Edition or like pre-order bonus? Like which ones do you guys typically go for?
So it depends on the game. Assassin's Creed, I almost always go with the gold because I believe in what they release, and their DLC has been good the last 2 games. Black Flag, not Black Flag, Syndicate was good, and Origin was good, so I bought the Odyssey Season Pass, and I'm getting Assassin's Creed 3 for it, so that's dope. For most other games, I generally buy the basic and wait to see what the Season Pass stuff is. Even so far as Spider-Man, like I didn't buy the Ultimate Edition of Spider-Man for, I think it was $80 that came with the City That Never Sleeps DLC and all that too. Just because I wanted to see, and I haven't actually played that, so I didn't even finish Spider-Man, unfortunately. I'd play it still, but I didn't finish it. But then to jump completely outside the box, when I'm doing when Halo comes out, I buy the most expensive physical edition so I can get the statue. Mm-hmm. So it kind of all goes back and forth. Eric, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys and with the chat. Right, it 100% depends on the game. Like Anthem, I'm super into that game, so I bought the Legion of Dawn edition, just so I get the extra, tchotchkes and whatnot. And then Division 2, I will most likely get the more expensive digital version. I have not gone so far this generation to go and buy a super expensive physical version of the game because I've gone almost entirely digital. or no, I have gone 100% digital.
Yeah.
If I want a tchotchke like that, I run down and use GameStop for what GameStop is now, a Funko Pop collection zone.
Yeah, that's how GameStop's going to survive, y'all. They're going to sell physical tchotchkes.
Yeah. And even when I do go to GameStop, I look at them and say, if I'm going to trade something in, they're like, what game do you want to put money down on? I go, no, just give me store credit or give me an Xbox, that I can
Sarge, you back?
fill up my wallet.
I can see his face, but he's not talking. Okay.
No,
he's here.
Oh, there he is. All right,
he
cool.
looked very perplexed.
Yeah, he did. So I don't know, Ryan. We're talking about what version of games you buy when you buy them. Do you buy the just base level $60? Here's the game, or do you ever buy like the $80 special $100 with the season pass? And like why? And we've Bobby, what do you buy? You didn't answer that.
So I talked in the chat here on Lumberjack Smacked on the chat. So for me, I typically don't buy the physical stuff. I just don't have a place in my home that really I can like put up that stuff. I guess here in the office, but that's just not the aesthetic that we're going for here. So I usually get if I'm excited about the game and I want to support it, I will buy the like gold or ultimate edition of that game digitally, so I can get some skins or some unlocks in the game, season pass potentially. That's burned me a few times, but usually it's a pretty good investment.
Yeah, no, the season pass for Assassin's Creed 3 burned me. I fucking hated the Tyranny at King George DLC. I fucking hated it.
I didn't like Assassin's Creed 3.
So I didn't initially, and I came back around to it. But we can talk about that around March 29th when the new remastered version comes out. Okay. So we've talked a lot about the prices of games changing, and I know we've probably said most of this already. But how much would you pay for a game based on the time you put into it? And this is something that I haven't brought up in the podcast specifically. Essentially, like when you go to a movie theater, you spend $15 for a 2-hour movie. If that were to be the case for a video game that you played for 30 hours, that's so much more money. So if you break down a game based on the hours you play, like how much would you pay? Would you pay differently based on the length of the game? Is what I'm asking. Like Call of Duty, would you pay $100 for because you're going to play it for 300 hours because you're a huge fan? Or does that not work?
I think it really depends on like what you're getting out of it. I mean, for example, a single player story on something that's standing on its own 2 feet, is that going to be enough to carry? Like, is that $60 going to carry that game? Like, are they going to add any more to it? Where like a game that I'm having 100+ hours in is usually a game as a service. So like if I look at 2018, I had a shit ton of hours in Destiny and even more so in Monster Hunter World. And those are both games that like are adding more content to it. Destiny's been charging more than what Monster Hunter has been, but I put far more hours into Monster Hunter to the point where it's like I would give these guys more money because I appreciate and I value the time I have with that game. So like I do think that it is something I agree on, like paying more for what you're doing.
Anybody else have a feedback on that?
I think the chat, the Adamuski brings up an interesting point in chat is I think what plays into the whole topic, right, is we're starting to see like Apex. I will give that game money because that game is phenomenal, but there was no cost to entry, right? Where I have a hard time is, and I know this is contrary to what, we've all been talking about a little bit, is when I pay $60 for a game, I don't mind buying a season pass. I don't mind buying some extra content, but I think I'm going to 100% just defeat myself in this argument here. And it's to play games with you guys. If you guys are going to buy the extra content, I don't want to fracture the community. So I think games like we're going to start seeing a difference here and that's where microtransactions are coming. Like Anthem, right, is original in the fact that they're not going to charge for DLC anywhere because they don't want to fracture that community, right? They're not charging for a season pass. They're not doing that. So I think we're going to start seeing that trend go a little bit more. And I think it's going to be interesting. Traditionally, like I bought the season pass for The Division. I bought the season pass for Destiny simply because it's a cost savings thing, right? It's a matter of economics. To me, it's $60 to buy a year's worth of content, or it's $40 to buy a year's worth of content. So even if I don't end up playing, I've still got that $20 in my pocket there. So
yeah, sure. Ryan,
And,
how much
like-
would? Yeah, go for it.
So if we break it down to by hours played on specific games, so I'm just going to bring up Rocket League. I've got 1,000 hours in on that game, if not more, and the game was only $20 when I got it, and I did the quick math. It's 0.02 cents an hour is what I've paid for that game. Basically, if we're breaking it down by that, but. I did the math also. Like I think I've put at least $60 itself into it in keys whenever the first keys came out.
Sure.
And so now I'm at 0.1 cent still per hour that I've played that game. So, I mean, if you break it down by hours, like it's like specific games like that, and who knows how many hours I put into Bad Company 2 and things like that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could say, I'm going to put a lot more, I'm going to make this game a lot more, because if Rocket League was $60 out the gate, and then I put another $60 or $80 in keys and additional content for it, they'd be getting more bang for my buck, but they made it $20. So I'm not even throwing whole pennies at people right now.
Yeah, I try.
I think I wanted to bring up what Adam Oski brought up in the chat, and that's that you shouldn't break a game down by its cost. It's like breaking down your pay if your salary. I agree with this.
Which would make me really sad.
Yeah, right. I agree with this. I think the point of bringing up like how much would you pay based on how much time you put into it is less for you to break down and exactly find out how much you've given a company, and more just to make. And I'm mostly speaking for us. I don't want to say for everybody. I'd like it to be for everybody, but for me, it's a positioning. It's a mental positioning of like the people that are pissy about microtransactions, and we can wrap up with this where this topic leads. Are people that don't think about how much they use a thing that was created by humans. And so the reason I bring up the looking at it based on how many hours you play is like Ryan just did, looking and seeing like, oh, I've paid them like a tenth of a penny per hour. And maybe that doesn't make you feel bad, but maybe it motivates you to go like, you know what, I will spend, $10 in the next month on keys, just to like realize like how much you enjoy a thing that was made, and how like just try and give money back to the system. I don't want people to spend movie theater prices per hour of a game they play. That's ridiculous. Like Ryan would have spent $15,000. But just as a way for people to look at it and go, I've played this a ton, and I like it a lot. I think they deserve some of my money. I just want to make gamers more conscientious of like how much time they spend in someone else's creation. Yep. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think, but I mean, that comes back to not necessarily this crew, but the gamer community in general is I don't bunch of.
Mostly, yeah. I don't want to say mostly. The ones that speak up the most are entitled.
I understand it's very much a vocal minority, right?
Sure.
It's the loudest crew. It's the loudest crew that's making, it's the people that are talking the most and making the most noise. The vast majority of people don't speak up. They don't say anything. They don't have an internet presence. They just play the game for what it is. Sorry, I was sitting back further away from it.
He was like, I don't know.
Like, hey, what's going on? Because my chair fucking broke. So I'm actually, if you got, it looks like I'm squatting right now. Essentially, if I were to move the camera over here, it looks like I'm taking a dump. And it's starting.
Is that what's happening behind the desk you had earlier?
Yes. It's starting to get uncomfortable.
He's in the turd.
No, I think that time, Skewy, it actually was me physically sitting back here, way away from the mic. But anyway, now I lost my point because all I can think about is taking a dump now. Entitlement. I don't know. Fuck it. Move on. I didn't have a point. Go.
Yeah. So to wrap up, we. Oh shit. We kind of. Oh no. Ryan brought back up in our little private chat over here that we didn't really talk about how, because microtransactions are such a negative thing in people's eyes, like how people can reposition the way they think about it, but on the game studios side, how can microtransactions become better? Ryan, that was your question. Do you want to like maybe lead with your gripes or why you think they need to be better?
This is what I was wanting to talk about the other day.
Yeah.
In Discord, and I stopped because I'm going to talk about here. But so it brings back last week with Anthem, how we had that discussion about that leak of a $20 skin for the Javelin or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
So what? And everybody was upset about it. Everybody's all pissy, and I can understand that $20. That's quite a bit of money. And obviously it's for a single skin, if that's really what it's going to look like. But I was also going to put it this way: if they made the skins $2, even the best ones. Now, okay, let's not go that far. If the best skins were $5,
sure.
If it's 20, you're going to have let's say 1,000 people download it. If you make it 5, 10 to 15,000 people download it. So is it better to make these skins or these additional content on these microtransactions cheaper because you're going to get quadruple more people to download that instead? Because I'm not going to spend $20 on a skin, but I'll spend $5 on 4 different, or I'll spend $4 or $5 for 4 different skins, and they're going to get my $20 still instead of me only getting 1 out of it.
Eric, we did such a good job of not talking about Fortnite every week, and I fucking ruined it this episode. But you're right, Ryan. And I think Fortnite is the benchmark right now, because they have their $15, $25 battle pass every season, which is like a 90-day thing. So like once every 3 months, $25, whatever. But then you can just straight up buy skins, and they aren't expensive. They aren't expensive. They're like $5, $10, $15, and yeah, they're kind of crushing it. So I think you're right. Like $20 for a single skin, fuck off. I'm never paying for that. Some people will. I'm not. But if you make them $5, make them $6, $7, $10, I'll buy the $10 ones less frequently, but I'll throw in money every once in a while. And I think that Fortnite is, it's kind of the benchmark. And I think that we should see games start to do this, where not only do they have the loot box feature,
does Fortnite have loot boxes? Sorry.
They do. They've got llamas that you can.
Sorry, loot llamas. Yeah. That's what it is. Loot llamas.
Yeah. So like that's a whole other conversation. The loot box gambling thing is interesting to me, and I meant to bring this up earlier when we were talking about like people doing this forever. Fucking trading cards have done this for like 40 years. Right. You buy a pack of cards and you have no idea what's in it, and you open it and you might get a really good thing and you might not. Like that's literally loot boxes, and no one fucking came at Pokemon for making kids gamble with their money. Like,
well, here's the thing, and I want to interject real quick.
Go for
it. The issue with loot boxes, and this is more an EMEA regulation, like Privacy Act thing or whatnot, under that whole deal, you're putting money into something. And then there's a chance that you can get, and the big stink about it is in Star Wars Battlefront 2, you couldn't do anything with that duplicate, right? Like a lot of games like Fortnite, Overwatch specifically, I think is a better one, and even CS:GO to an extent, you had the Steam market to go and put it on there, right? You had with Overwatch, you break that duplicate down, and then you can do something with it. Same thing in PUBG, right? I don't have an issue with getting a duplicate as long as I'm getting something from that duplicate where I'm able to say, okay, I'm going to break this down, and I'm going to get the in-game currency. I think that's where the big stink about it is. I agree with you completely. Trading cards have been doing this forever. I go and buy a pack of Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering cards. Oh, shit, now I've got 17,000 Leviathans. Well, what am I going to do with these? I'm going to go trade my 17 Leviathans with a friend for something else. Where that mechanic is not there yet, right? There are other games, like you said, Fortnite is the benchmark. That is the model everybody's chasing. I really like what Apex did with theirs, where it is, okay,
no duplicates.
There's no duplicates, one.
So
two, I'm earning crafting materials, right? The crafting materials, I think they need to maybe tweak and balance and make those appear just a little bit more volumes. But again, the game hasn't even been out for 7 days yet.
Yeah, right.
It's
young. It's young.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's an interesting model. And to Ryan's point, I don't think the market has found that middle point yet. Fortnite is the benchmark. Apex is done. We've got Anthem coming out. We haven't brought up Destiny 2 the way they do it. I kind of like their Eververse model because you're earning things as you're getting a level in that game. You don't necessarily have to buy silver. Why they came up with silver for the name in Destiny makes no fucking sense to me still to this day, but whatever. But it's still an evolving thing to find the formula that is most tolerant. And I don't think we're even 6 months or a year from that answer. I think we're multiples of years, right? We're not going to get a real balance in the market or equilibrium until I think we're 2, 3, 4 years into the next console. Console.
I think Apex is onto something. And it's taking Fortnite's model and evolving it. And I think that, like, on top of the no longer getting duplicates, which is very good, they also guarantee a legendary item every 30 boxes, which, like, that's just nice. Like, if you're putting in money, you want to get something nice. They're guaranteeing you'll get something nice every 30 boxes, and that's outside of just getting stuff on the RNG when you're praying to RNGs. So, like, yeah, Apex is onto something, and I think that we'll see microtransactions evolve over time, as obviously they have to. But yeah,
Nice.
So
nice.
we're
So
we're winding. We're just nice. So we're coming towards the end of the show, folks. And what we do at the end of the show is we go into bounties, which is what we've been watching, listening to, reading, or playing over the last week. So we're gonna wrap up with that. Bobby, what are your bounties, my friend?
I'm playing the Division 2 beta on top of Apex, as you guys might have heard.
Oh, fuck, I have that now. I gotta play it.
It's really fucking cool. You guys should check it out. If you like the Division, it is more of that.
Dope.
I started watching a show called Russian Doll on Netflix. It's really fucking cool. It's like Groundhog's Day, kind of, but really dark and twisted. So check that out.
All right.
And I'm reading, not necessarily reading, but I revisited it this week. Not to end on a sad note, but we had to put my dog down on Thursday, and that was not fun. But a few years ago, I came across a web comic by The Oatmeal called My Dog, the Paradox. And I went back to that this week as we put Rocket down, and it was just really cool to go back and have that to look at. So not the funnest thing to end on, but definitely that is an awesome web comic if you guys haven't read it.
Yeah, all love, dude. All love.
Thank you.
Ryan, what you been getting into over the last week?
Apex. That's it.
Apex is life. Apex is mood.
Dude, I'm worried about this year because, like, there's so much good stuff, and I don't want to put one down to play another, and it's just, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna sell my Xbox and be done.
I actually had that moment last night. My uncle Sketch asked me to play Warframe with him, and, like, the journalistic side of me popped in as an answer and was like, I can't. Like, I fucking can't play. I want to play Warframe, but I can't. Like, I've got to get as many hours in on Apex as I can so I can continue writing about it. And then as soon as that's done, we get fucking Anthem next week, and then in a couple weeks, and as soon as that's done, you know what I mean? Like, so much shit coming out. Crackdown's next week.
See, the bad thing, to speak to Adam, he's like, that's the problem with buying multiple games. I didn't have to buy this goddamn game. I'm just in love with it. Like,
right, yeah, and I think that's where Apex is winning.
They dropped it on me like, hey, this is free, enjoy. Oh, okay.
How much you like Titanfall? Have another one for free. Fuck you guys. You doing anything else, Ryan? Or has it just been Apex controlling your life?
Apex, and then I don't know. We've just been browsing stuff on Netflix. I'm still in the middle trying to watch Ozark. We're trying to sit down. Those are hour-long episodes. I can't really devote too much time to each episode every night. So,
Eric, what you been up to? Bounties, my friend.
Oh, sitting in a conference room, fucking 8 hours a day for the last 3 days. So that's what I've been doing. I've been inundated with sales kickoff. For those of you who don't work in the giant corporate world like this guy, once a year you get a sales organization together all in a hotel somewhere. It's an elaborate festival to kind of pump them all up. A lot of good content, a lot of good connections, a lot of good networking. I mean, that from that side of it. But it is a slug of sitting in an uncomfortable chair and watching PowerPoints and then awkward forced team building interactions. We got to make, luckily that I was kind of impressed with this company because they found a local charity that helps out foster kids, and we all built blankets and teddy bears for them. So whenever they get, whenever somebody goes in a foster home, they get a teddy bear and a blanket to help ease that transition. But it was, it was fun. I didn't really get to do much bounty wise this week. Apex was Monday night, Tuesday night. I'm probably going to jump into that a little bit tonight.
I'm going to jump into that right after this podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to go hang out with the family because I haven't seen them all week. And I hear
I got a gun convention to go to.
Family's overrated. I'm just kidding. I didn't mean that.
Hold on.
What?
Like, were you good? I saw your shoulder kind of move when you said gun convention. I wasn't sure if you were going to flex or not, Ryan. So you're actually going to a gun show. Okay. All right, good.
No, I'm actually going to one.
Okay, cool. All right, that's fine.
I should have. I didn't think about it.
About it.
It's still very early. Hey, I don't get up till 2 p.m. usually on Saturdays.
Well, unconsciously, your shoulder. That's going to change, my friend. That's going to change. You're going to have.
Nope. She can get up early.
Yeesh.
Yikes.
Yeesh. Guys, in July, Ryan's gonna get murdered.
Yeah,
by his wife.
Anyway,
I'm going to Comic Con. It's happening.
I think we're gonna finish up Sex Education on Netflix this week.
Oh yeah, I want to watch that.
It's really worth the 8 hours. I think it's a really good show. Yeah, no kidding, Shadow. It's just bonkers the amount of things. I think to Ryan's point, I am having trouble with the limited amount of time I actually get to play these days, justifying, what I'm going to play, what I'm going to play. Because like Black Ops, there's the tier system in that game, which I'm way behind on this, season. Then there is, I just bought the definitive edition of Tales of Vesperia. I'd like to finish up, just to play through that storyline again because it's so good. Yeah, it's bonkers. There's going to be a lot of bounties and a lot of talk, and we're, I know we've been talking about producing some more content off side of this, in the bounty board. I should call it the Nerdy Bits Discord. We really need to change that logo, because it is going to very soon become multiple channel streams and multiple pieces of content and things like that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep you guys posted when that happens.
Yeah.
This week for me, I have been playing Apex, as everybody knows, and been watching Punisher finally getting around to season 2. It's very good, guys. It's very good. In the first episode, he throws a motherfucker through a sink, and it's amazing.
Thanks for ruining that for me.
Yeah, it was in the trailer, so you're fine. I've been reading a Halo book called Silent Storm. That's very good, written by Troy Denning. About Master Chief. It's super dope. I'm a huge nerd. Anybody who's laughing or wants to laugh at that, that's fine. This is a game podcast. Fuck off if you're laughing at me reading about a game. Listening. Ooh, Health, a band that I fucking love, had a new album come out yesterday, and it slaps. It's so good. So yeah, get in on that because it's. Song 4. It's called Black Static. Just listen to it with good headphones or like a good stereo, and it'll knock you on your ass. It's super good. And before we wrap up completely, I wanted to throw out that the February games with Game Pass were announced a couple of days ago. We're getting Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the complete first season of Walking Dead. They returned to Arkham Collection, which is a remastered Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight. Those games are amazing. A Pumped BMX Pro, which is a little like sideways Trials style BMX game. It's pretty dope. D-Blob and Crackdown. So that's just what they've announced so far. We all know they like to add a bunch of shit to that list.
Yeah, and the chat wants to know what the name of the band was again. I want to catch it on audio too for the people.
Oh yeah, the name of the band is Health, Health, and the album is
something about slabs.
No, the album. That's god damn it. No, that's my description of the album. The album slaps.
It's Slaves of Fear.
It's called Slaves of Fear. Yeah, and it's chef's kiss. Very good. But as we wrap up, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to listen to the podcast, I post them on Monday. You can find that at nerdybits.com/listen or iTunes, Stitcher, and any other podcatcher app that has us. I need to find out what that exact list is, but I will. If you want to watch any of our streams, I've got Sarge and Hybrid's stream schedules up on nerdybits.com/watch. You can read anything I'm writing on nerdybits.com/read. I've got an Apex piece coming out and then a character piece, a legend piece on Apex coming out eventually. So that's that. Yeah, you can find me anywhere. That's Twitter, Instagram, Xbox, PlayStation at Lubwub. Eric, where can people find you?
Hybrid Glass. Every word counts.
Dope. Ryan, where can people find you?
Sergeant Sodium on Twitch and Twitter.
Amazing. And Bobby, last but not least, Big Bobby, the soft clothes sommelier. Where can people find you?
God damn it. Lumberjack Smack on all gaming platforms. Bobby P's on Twitter. BP's85 on Instagram.
Sweet. You need to consolidate those to the same.
I'm trying. I'm.
Oh, that's right.
There's that little kid.
The little kid.
We're gonna track him
Fucking
down.
little kid.
No, I think your new gamer tag is the soft clothes sommelier.
Yeah,
That is what everything needs to change to. We
Yes.
came up
Lumberjack
with
Smack is really good.
it is though, but the soft clothes sommelier.
Adam Muski said he's listening to that album on Spotify now. I'd better get slapped. You will, friend. You will.
But not by this lumberjack.
No. Sorry, he's listening to Health on Spotify.
Yeah.
The album will slap you. Lumberjack will not, unless you're close, and then he might.
It's a gentle grace.
Soft. It's the softest. It's so soft. The hand motion. Oh fuck! Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We will be back next week at a regularly scheduled time. I say that we probably who knows?
There's no schedule time.
There isn't. But yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good fucking weekend.
Later.
Remember,
the fire rises.
what was that noise?
I don't know what button I'm hitting. Sorry, hold on.
Bye.